What is up, everybody? Hope my stream's working. I want to talk about some tech news today. We are going to go over some news of the day. Thank you all so very much for hanging out with me. It's Tuesday, the 3rd of September. We just had Labor Day weekend. It's awesome. We narrowly avoided Hurricane Dorian here in Florida. So thankfully, we did not have to deal with that. So without further ado, let's get right into the news. That is not the browser window I wanted. So Android 10 is out today. And Android 10, so we've gone away from the naming of Android based on some type of treat, Kit Kat, lollipop, marshmallow, nougat, or nougat, depending on where in the world you're from. And of course, the Pixel devices are getting all the latest and greatest. They're getting the updates, of course. So that's to be. So let's look at some of the new features. So we got 6 betas already over 6 months. So they're adding in some new gestures, some options, different ways to navigate the phones because the phones have gotten ridiculously huge, and so that's not surprising. So Google is saying it's going to try to upgrade many devices to Android 10. You guys know Android is still very fragmented. It's got like I think 20% on Android 9, maybe like 15%. It's something really small compared to Apple on the flip side, whereas their adoption is much higher. So that's a problem. So no more snack names. So they're getting full gesture navigation. What else? Something similar to the iPhone, where you can do swipe gestures, full support for dark mode. So if you don't like the overarching white text on your screen, and they also said that that'll help with battery life. And what else? Notifications. That's usually one of the Android's best features, but okay. So no more smart replies, I guess. I'm sorry, I misread the article. So Google Inbox is no longer a thing. Smart replies are going to be single tap. So this kind of, I think, is going to be more of a tweak than it's really going to be an actual. I mean, it's going to any time you go from a new version of the operating system, it's always a big step for people. But the key things that have come recently are better security and privacy. I mean, people have been screaming, crying for better security. And so the problem is, right, a lot of the newer devices, or I'm sorry, the older devices, they tend to not get updates and they get life cycled out. It's just the carriers stop releasing updates, or the manufacturers. So they're talking about a new edition called Adamantium, which I thought when I first read it was Adamantium. So a method to do better encryption on. So interesting. All right, so that's Android 10 in a nutshell. Let's go into the next article today. So Hurricane Dorian was bearing down on Florida, the East Coast. Then it kind of stalled over the Bahamas, but we are still expected to have some kind of impact. Not so much here in the Panhandle where I live, but on the east side of Florida. So we'll pray for all those that are impacted, because we know just how deadly these hurricanes can be. As we had Hurricane Michael last October, which we're still repairing from. So GM and Tesla are going to unlock connected car features to help with Hurricane Dorian. So they're saying that essentially General Motors is going to give free OnStar crisis assist to anybody who's in the Dorian threatened areas, and Tesla is going to provide free supercharging and unlock software with limited range of some of its cheaper models to help its owners flee the storm. So it says, so OnStar can help you get routed away from danger or find resources like food, shelter, and water, and potentially even book yourself a hotel room. So definitely check that out. Free supercharging. I like how they call that. So extra range. So basically, you can take your Tesla and go farther to get out of the hurricane. So for 2017's Irma and 2018's Florence and Michael, Tesla temporarily extended the range on the Model S and Model X60 Delta. So they each have a 75 kilowatt hour lithium ion battery pack, but their software locked to just 60. So it's essentially giving the battery more power, so they have more range. So that'll be interesting. I mean, and here in the southeast, I don't know. I'm sure in the major cities they have charging stations. So I guess if you got to Atlanta, so I'm really excited to see that they're doing that. So, all right, next news story of the day. So the website used by Hong Kong protesters suffers a distributed denial of service attack. If you guys did not see the big protest in Hong Kong, they were actually waving the American flag. It's pretty amazing to see in a communist country that there are people that are really excited about their freedom. They want freedom, but essentially a lot of them were put down by non-lethal force, if I remember reading correctly. So this particular one, prime suspect, no surprise, China. Form used by activists behind the Hong Kong protests has suffered a distributed denial of service attack, forcing servers to go offline for a short period of time. So the website called LIHKG is often referred to as Reddit's version of the country. So let's take a quick peek here and let's see if it's up or not. It looks like it's probably still down, or maybe it's just taking a long time, so we'll come back. This is according to the official statement. It began on August 31st when the unique visitors rose to 6.5 million, and the total request per second was 1.5 billion per hour. So essentially they're flooding the traffic with as much information as they can to take down the network. Typically bigger companies like Google and Amazon and Facebook, they'll have cloud denial of service protection services that they pay for, so they don't have to deal with that. But it is getting much cheaper to purchase these types of services on the dark web, of course. So you essentially pay a small amount of money and you can get anywhere from a few minutes to an hour or an ongoing attack, depending on how long you want. And most of these denial of service attacks are not just one computer, multiple computers linked together in a big botnet, a big group of computers, like a zombie army. So they can essentially flood traffic. A lot of these times, these computers will be taken over by malware, and then they'll be co-opted into doing these types of major attacks on whatever the target of the day is. So you can see some images here. So it looks like we've got some major outage. So they're saying, what are they saying here? So essentially this is allowing, there's a bill before the government saying that some of the attacks were coming from China. So there's ongoing anti-extradition bill protests because obviously the people in Hong Kong, they don't want to be detained, extradited, or prosecuted for their opinions, be they political or any. Pretty much it's against it. So they're saying that the service is still affected. Looks like attention required. Yeah, looks like, so the alerts are coming up from Cloudflare still. So that so I have to complete a CAPTCHA. So yeah, they got their Cloudflare. So yeah, so Pavel Durov, so he blamed the Chinese government for the attacks. In the tweet, it says IP addresses coming mostly from China. All state actor denial of service attacks, 200 to 400 gigabits per second of junk. So a huge amount of traffic. So interesting. Let me go over here. Hopefully, my stream is live. I've got not getting very good frames per second. That's not good. So I am streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch. I hope that it's all going through. I got a couple people watching on Facebook, so thanks to those of you that are able to watch. I can't tell who it is from my current setup here. Let me jump back and let me go over some other news. One of my other favorite sites. So I'm trying to do this stuff more often because I've been traveling all summer and haven't been home to do a lot of these streams. I know that's no excuse. We're in technology, Kris, right? You should be able to clearly. This is a big one. So XKCD, like a big, I can't even count the number of people I know that have, my tech bros will will definitely attest to this, that XKCD is one of the biggest places we go for comedy and relief in our day-to-day tech life. So this is not good. 562,000 users accounts leaked. So everything from comic strips. So it says 2 months ago, Troy Hunt, of course, he's the guy that runs the Have I Been Pwned website. So if you need to check out if your email has been hacked or your passwords have been compromised, that's a great site to go to. You can literally go on the website, haveibeenpwned.com, PWNED, not, so that's the hacker term for compromised. We'll see if it, hopefully it comes up. Hopefully they're not, this is great. So what actually happened here? So they're saying, so Adam Davies is the one who shared a copy of it to Hunt. So they posted a short notice. So if you've registered and created an account, you definitely want to change your password right now. Absolutely, that's vitally important. Change your passwords. Use good password management. Use LastPass for that matter. Okay, so have I been pwned? So you essentially put your email address in, and I'll put my email address, and let's see if it's pwned or not. And it even give you some options for how to generate good passwords. No pwnage found, and it gives you some nice steps to security. Pwned on one breach site. So this is so I thought it said no pwnage found. Anyway, it's a terrible demo. So just change your passwords. Use complicated passwords. Don't use easy passwords to remember. For God's sakes, get on two-factor authentication. If you don't know how, send me a message. Put a comment in the video somewhere. Please do that immediately. So the next top story. So if you have the app Cam Scanner, if you're downloading Cam Scanner on your Android or iPhone, I think it might only be Android. I don't know if iPhone actually has it. So 100 million plus malware version of the app. I removed it. So if you have Cam Scanner, what it is basically a copier app for your phone, and it works great. It does a great job. It has a lot of people have downloaded it. So you definitely want to be wary of what you're downloading. So they said until a new update is released, remove the app from your device. They're saying that has removed it from the Play Store. So they're saying essentially it drops a Trojan dropper, which could allow remote attackers to download and install malicious programs. So it does other things. So this is a classic case of a third-party advertising library inside of its PDF creator. So Kaspersky, interestingly enough, found the vulnerability, and so there were a lot of people that have negative reviews on the app. I have the paid version, so that might be a different situation. I'm sure they use some of the same code, but anytime you download a new app from any kind of app store or Play Store, it definitely increases your attack surface. You want to make sure that you're only downloading from approved app stores, not any third-party ones or any, because that's an easy way to get malware. So, and that's that. The final story I'm going to touch on real quick. You've got, interestingly enough, and this is kind of egg on the face of Apple, but essentially Apple has for years told us that they're, they have a walled garden, they do great vetting of their apps, they're not hackable, and so Google uncovered a few days ago just how visiting some sites were secretly hacking iPhones for years. So all you have to do is if you have an iPhone and go to some innocent-looking website, that looks legitimate, and your phone has been hacked. So essentially, Google's Project Zero uncovered this activity. So at least 5 unique iPhone exploit chains that can remotely jailbreak your iPhone and put spyware on it. So if you don't know what jailbreaking is essentially removing the security protections on your iPhone so you can install non-Apple approved apps or make changes to the settings that you ordinarily wouldn't be able to do, which it's a lot easier to do on Android. They actually call it rooting, but jailbreaking is a constant thing. Every time there's a new version of iOS, people rush to try and break it. And of course, spyware, that means they're going to be spying on your activities, your web browsing, your text messaging, whatever you might want to do. So they said this one found 14 different vulnerabilities in the operating system, which 7 of them happen to be inside of the Safari browser, which is the mobile web browser for iOS, 5 in the kernel, and then 2 separate sandbox escape issues, which is really bad. So everything from iOS 10 through iOS 12. So what a sandbox escape means is essentially that apps are supposed to be in their own little sandbox, and in this particular case, they found 2 issues where apps were not kept in secure environments. So thanks to Google Project Zero researcher Ian Beer, great name. I got to buy him a beer. Only 2 of the vulnerabilities were 0 days. So then they actually have the vulnerabilities here. So for over 2 years, this has been going on. So Apple apparently updated in iOS 12.1.4 to address the issue, but it's still there's still malicious websites out there. So bottom line, users are going to do what users are going to do. So then there's no indicator that this is going on. So to the end user, they're going to have no idea, essentially what's going on, or something in the background is happening. So it can do things like steal your WhatsApp messaging, your Telegram, your iMessage. So this is really bad. So you want to be very careful about what websites you visit. Double check the URL, double check the spelling. Even if it looks very similar, just make sure that you're being extra careful. And with that, that is the news for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Not a very long stream today, but we're going to get a little bit here so you guys can get some of the tech news without me boring the hell out of you. Hope you found it interesting. Going to try to improve my stream now that I found a way to stream to multiple sources at once. And thank you all so very much for watching. We'll catch you guys next time. If you're watching me on YouTube, remember to subscribe. Go check out my tech blog on Facebook. If you're on Twitch, I'm going to be trying to stream a lot more to Twitch because Twitch is a great platform, and I want to make sure I give some love over to these great platforms. I may check out Mixer if I start getting enough subscribers and enough people watching it. So thank you.